What it is, what it was, what's happening, cuz it's Ice Cold, and this is Cold Collective Media Podcast, episode 4, and we got a lot to talk about this whole Hulk Hogan controversy surrounding his death. Now, Hulk Hogan died, he died on July 24th, 2025 in his home in Clearwater, Florida. He was 71 years old. Now, Hulk Hogan is known across the world. He's known across the world. He was with WWE when it was formerly WWF and the AWA. He was also with WCW. Hulk Hogan, when you hear his name when you hear wrestling, Hulk Hogan usually comes to mind. He's in a lot of people's Mount Rushmore of the probably greatest wrestlers of all time, or I'll say personas or so. Hulk Hogan was really just that guy. He took wrestling into the mainstream era. But here's the issue with Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan back in actually July 2015. It was some leaked audio, some racist audio that was leaked. And he also had a sex tape that was leaked or so in 2007. But in this audio, he was using the N-word. He was using nigger. He was using N-I-double-G-E-R. He was using nigger. And it's unfortunate because this is somebody that, you know, in the 80s and stuff, he was telling kids, you know, to take their vitamins and to say their prayers. And the whole time, he does not like black people. And I know a lot of people could say, oh, well, at WrestleMania, he tag teamed with Mr. T, who was a black man. He's worked with other black athletes. He put over The Rock at WrestleMania 18. And when I say put over, that means he allowed The Rock to beat him at WrestleMania 18. Now, we can kind of like dissect that a bit because, yes, The Rock is considered biracial. He's half black and half Samoan, but you really don't see the Rock claiming his black side like that. I mean, yeah, his daddy was black and stuff, but everything, if you look through interviews and stuff like that, it's always about his Samoan heritage and stuff. Now, he's never not acknowledged his black side, but in reality is like, okay, he sides with the Samoan side. Why that matters is because I feel like if The Rock was just fully black, like I don't think Hulk Hogan would put over Booker T. He wouldn't put over Booker T at a WrestleMania. Would he have put over Mark Henry? Hell, Ron Simmons. You know, all these other, you know, black names that's been in the main event at one point in time. I highly doubt that Hulk Hogan would have allowed them to beat him. But unfortunately, he did not want his daughter dating a black man. And back in actually a decade prior, on his death date of July 24, 2025, 10 years prior to that, WWE World Wrestling Entertainment on July 24, 2015, removed any reference of Hulk Hogan from their websites. And they cut ties with him because all of the racism that became public. Now, of course, later on, when stuff kind of like boiled over a bit and things kind of calmed down, yes, WWE put him like everywhere, invited him back to the shows, and it was like, you know, nothing had happened. And of course, we had ownership change and everything. So it's just like, you know, nothing had happened. In his sex tape in 2007, he was with his friend's wife. And this was posted on a website called Gawker. I think that's how it's spelled. Gawker. I believe that's how it's spelled. Back in October 2012. And Hogan sued them for invasion of privacy. And a jury awarded him $140 million on March 18th to the 21st in 2016. And the case, so I'm guessing the company had appealed it or so. I'm not sure how that whole case worked out, but the case was settled for $31 million in November 2016. So because they wrote an article about this whole sex tape scandal, I don't know if they posted the video, but whatever they did, they had to settle for $31 million. And it's kind of crazy because it's like, where does freedom of speech come? Where does freedom of speech or freedom of the press? And I will have to look more into that whole situation, how he was able to sue them. Well, I guess you could sue forever, but then again, it does say that a jury awarded him $140 million. So I'm pretty sure that the writers and stuff from Gawker had probably had a whole lot to say about what happened. And I believe that the company went bankrupt because they had to pay so much money. But so he allegedly slept with his, well, not allegedly, his whole video or stuff out that he slept with his best friend's wife. Now, we're not talking about his best friend's side chick. We're not talking about his best friend ex-girlfriend. We're not talking about his best friend, stripper that done danced on him, that he didn't pay for a lap dance or nothing. We talking about his best friend wife. Best friend wife. Now, as a person, I wouldn't say that you sleeping with your best friend's wife like will just necessarily say that you are like this. Well, no, I don't want to say like you're a terrible person, but that's a terrible action. It's where you might as well say it's a terrible person, because how could you do this to your best friend? First of all, you gonna step out. I'm not sure, was he married at the time? I'm not sure if he was married at the time, but the fact that he willingly slept with his best friend's wife, that is crazy as hell. And he lived to tell the story. If you my best friend, you sleep with my wife, I don't know what's gonna happen. I can't tell you what I would do. A lot of people say, oh, I do this or do that. Sometimes when certain situations happen, you just don't know what you're going to do. You can say all day long, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But in reality, you really don't know what you're going to do, because now you got betrayals. You got betrayal of your best friend and your spouse. So not only did your spouse cheat on you, but your spouse cheated on you with your best friend. Not only did your best friend cheat with your spouse, your best friend betrayed you. Like, you went behind my back and you slept with somebody that I love. Even if we had issues and stuff, it's the whole principle of the fact that you went and you stepped out and you like, bruh, I don't even know how he made it out without like fighting. I mean, I know Hulk Hogan was like pretty big dudes or whatever. So that's why it don't matter how big you are. They got a bullet that will take your ass out. That's crazy right there. So I don't really, doing that whole cheating scandal, that's jacked up. People do that all the time, not condoning it, not saying it's good or whatever, but we'll move past that. But this whole racism, and then Hulk Hogan has had a lot of behind the scenes issues for years. He's been in the wrestling business for decades. I remember there was a little story that came back that Jesse the Body Ventura, the former governor, I believe, of Minnesota, he was a governor, but before that, he was a wrestler. He was a wrestler for WWE. Well, back then, WWF, World Wrestling Federation. He was a wrestler. And he tried to start a union. He tried to unionize the wrestling business. And hey, why not start a union at one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world at the time? Well, hell, still. He tried to start this union. I'm guessing it was going to be about making sure that wrestlers, got compensated correctly and that they got health coverage, because under WWE, wrestlers are considered contractors. And it's crazy how they're considered contractors, because if you're considered a contractor, but how is it that WWE can tell you that, hey, you have to be here, the days that you have to be there, You don't get any like medical coverage or anything. A lot of them have to cover their own flights, transportation and stuff like that too, and from hotels. A lot of them have to, pay for those things. They're not paid the same as WWE personnel. It's completely different. So how can you can be considered a self-contractor, but it's like, hey, I gotta be here at these dates. That's a requirement, and I'm not allowed to work for another wrestling promotion. So if I'm under WWF at the time, I'm not allowed to go work for Championship Wrestling, WCW. I'm not allowed to go work for Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW. I'm not allowed to go work for the NWA or New Japan Wrestling. I'm not going to, be allowed to work for these other companies while I'm under contract with WWF. So he tried to do that, and then Hulk Hogan went, behind his back when he got word of it, and he told Vince McMahon about it, and that ended everything. All the hopes of Jesse the Body Ventura trying to get this union going, all of that stopped right then and there when Vince got word. Now Jesse would later kind of find out that it was Hulk Hogan after communicating with Vince and stuff. There's an interview that's out there, a recent interview that came out within the last couple of years of Jesse Ventura explaining like, hey, how he found out and why he doesn't like Hulk Hogan because of that. So that, to me, that's like real dirty. That's shicey. And also, Hulk Hogan had it in his contract where he had to have a certain amount of wins, certain amount of pay, which with the pay is okay. It's cool. It's Hulk Hogan. He's a huge name in a business, but he would never like put over guys. He would never put up the young and upcoming talent that's coming through. It had to always be about Hulk Hogan, and there was a lot of shady things that was said that he did behind the scenes. Now here's the crazy part. There are so many people that are saying that we should let the past be the past and acknowledge how great of a superstar that Hulk Hogan was and what he did for the wrestling business, how he was in movies, how he put wrestling on the mainstream map. So we got to ignore that he didn't want his daughter date no nigger. That's all it was. And then he had full support of Donald Trump, and we'll get into Donald Trump a little bit later, but he's a strong MAGA supporter. Now, if you are in support of Donald Trump right now, before I begin this, I am not a Democrat and I am not a Republican. I consider myself independent when it comes to voting. I take time to see who I'm voting for. Look at Democrats and Republicans. What are you doing for our communities? And how will this benefit me and my peers based on voting for you? So I don't look at Democrat or Republican because I feel like once you do that, you tend to ignore everything else. But a lot of MAGA supporters, Trump supporters, they tend to, or you guys tend to ignore a lot of the wrongdoings that the candidate that you're supporting has done. You ignore a lot of it. And when somebody calls something out, you always say, oh, well, the Democrats did this, or we got to stop focusing on, okay, what the Democrat did or anything. If we're talking about this one person, everybody else is irrelevant. And with the history of Donald Trump, with his racism, the sexual assault cases and all the things that he has had, and for Hulk Hogan to like fully just support him, it's like, okay, we gotta kind of dissect into his profile a little bit. Let's look at his career, look at his patterns, and see like, okay, why is it that you're so strongly about Donald Trump? Why are you in support of Donald Trump so heavily? And I believe, you have somebody that's running that has the same beliefs and philosophies as you. It's an easy match. It's an easy match. And if you're a Donald Trump supporter and you feel like, no, Donald Trump is not a sexist, Donald Trump is not a rapist, he's not a pedophile, Donald Trump is none of those things. He's just a brilliant man and he's really doing wonderful things for America. And you have every right to have that opinion. But here's the thing, you guys pick and choose. You pick and choose on a daily who you want to be offended about or who you want to support, who you want to be upset with. And the playing field is not leveled. It's not an even playing field. It's not at all. So with the racism that Donald Trump has, he has a history of it. He has a history of racism. But it's like, I don't get it. Why does Hulk Hogan and why does Donald Trump get a pass for their actions? Why do they get a pass for their actions and nobody else? So everything that comes out about them it's a lie. It's a 100% complete lie. None of that stuff is true. So let's get back to Hulk Hogan. An audio tape was leaked. An audio tape was leaked of Hulk Hogan speaking to his daughter and then telling her he did not want her to date this black man. And he's using racial slurs when he's talking to her about this. Or I don't know if he was talking direct. Whoever he was talking to in that video, he was using racial slurs referring to black men. He did not want her to date no black man. And here you guys over here like, oh, well, that was a long time ago, or he's not, well, he's dead now, so we shouldn't wear. It doesn't matter. If you do not want people to criticize Hulk Hogan for his racism, then maybe Hulk Hogan shouldn't have not been racist while he was alive. And let me use some scenarios for you guys. Let me use some scenarios. So Chris Brown, R&B pop singer, Chris Brown and Rihanna. They had domestic violence occurred in 2009, and Chris Brown pled guilty to assault. And his mainstream career continued, but with backlash. That was in 2009. And you guys still put that over Chris Brown's head. That whole situation with him and Rihanna, it came out that it was some domestic violence and stuff. He still had no right to put his hands on her, whatever occurred and stuff. But Chris Brown did his time, and he made sure that he was a better man. He was actually a young man at the time. I believe he was like 19 or something like that when that situation happened. That was in 2009, and y'all don't let that go at all. If Chris Brown died today, all the headlines and stuff, well, all of the sites that were criticized, like, of course, like Fox News for sure, possibly TMZ and stuff, they would say the Chris Brown known for abusing Rihanna and stuff. No matter how many accolades and accomplishments that he's had, y'all gonna put that over his head that what he did back in 2009, how he had that whole domestic violence situation with Rihanna. You put that over his head. You can't let that go. You can't let that go. Oh, here's another one. R. Kelly. R. Kelly was found guilty in 2021 and 2022 on federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges, sentenced to prison. And y'all gonna hover that over his head when he died. And when you put Hulk Hogan and R. Kelly, they're in different playing fields. Of course, Hulk Hogan's in wrestling. And then you could add a little bit of acting to that because he was in some movies and stuff. You can add that. But R. Kelly is perhaps one of the greatest R&B singers of all time or songwriters. He has written songs for so many artists. He has written so many hits. When he dies, The day that R. Kelly dies, they're gonna say a shamed R&B singer or whatever, uh, who was arrested, found guilty for this sex trafficking or etc. They're gonna level that over his head. They're not gonna say about no R&B singer or anything like that. They're gonna put that over his head. Now, if you're over here saying, "Oh, you can't compare that to racism and stuff," why I can't? Why I can't? Because this country was started off of racism. This country was started off of racism. Even with the Jim Crow era, racism has directly affected black people in so many ways. Some of the things that we have today is because of racism. Just having a fence around your house is started from racism. A lot of things that black people couldn't do started from racism. The towns that black people had, even with black banks and etc., were destroyed because of racism. If you look at I'm in Texas. If you look at the James Byrd Act that happened in Jasper, Texas, I believe in the 90s, when some racist white man dragged him from from the back of a truck. You know why? Racism. So with Hulk Hogan being racist, there's no telling what he has done behind closed doors from racism, because he hates the color of somebody's skin. Another one, Michael Jackson. He was accused, but he was acquitted in criminal court in 2005, and he first faced no further convictions. Michael Jackson. And I've seen Fox News and all these, they call him Wacko Jacko, and people calling him a child molester and things like that. He was never found guilty. Never found guilty. And even some of the kids that came out later as an adult that said that, they were pushed to say this or that. That, ever since that happened in the 90s, that was the main focal point of Michael Jackson's career up until he died. So even after he died, y'all still said this stuff. Michael Jackson is the greatest performer of all time in this music industry. The absolute greatest. Michael Jackson just had a stadium of people just falling out. Just falling. He had to have ambulances on deck ready because people was finna fall out. I'm talking about just selling out stadiums. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people selling out albums, selling millions of records. Millions of records. But when he died, y'all ain't say, hey, we can't, we ain't finna look it back, at the controversies and stuff surrounding Michael Jackson's career, even though he, was found to be innocent. He was never proven to be guilty. We ain't gonna just, we're gonna look past all that, and we just gonna look at all of Michael Jackson's accomplishments and everything. We're gonna look at all his accomplishments and just, show this how he is one of the greatest pop stars of all time. Ain't nobody touching Michael Jackson. Nobody. When it comes to performing and all that stuff, not Prince. Nobody was selling out like Michael Jackson. Prince is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. Don't be trying to go crazy in the comments. But y'all couldn't let that go. Y'all. So where is this whole, how you feel about Hulk Hogan right now? No, we can't do this. And I've seen people like Mark Henry. Shout out to Mark Henry. But the fact that you got up on here and just talking about people stopping, man, Hulk Hogan this and stuff or whatever, man, the hell with Hulk Hogan. The hell with Hulk Hogan. I want to say something else, but the hell with Hulk Hogan. Y'all gotta stop doing that, bro. We not just finna just ignore Hulk Hogan's racism. Again, Hulk Hogan was phenomenal. I love when Hulk Hogan became Hollywood Hogan. Whole NWO situation and everything. That was phenomenal. And then I saw Kevin Nash gonna tweet or something like that about all the people that talked down on Hulk Hogan while he's alive. Now they all trying to show support when he's dead. A lot of people do show support when somebody's dead or whatever, but shut your ass up, bro. Shut your tall ass up. What you doing is like what cops do when they have one person, that's a bad cop and he do some shady stuff or whatever, but they just ignore it. It's just like, hey, so you saw Hulk Hogan, you knew Hulk Hogan was racist because you was around Hulk Hogan. I'm pretty sure he done made some comments and stuff like that, but you ignored it. Oh, that's just how he feel and stuff. You ain't thinking nothing was wrong about it, Kevin. Now let's go ahead and jump on Donald Trump situation. July 24, 2025, South Park mocked Donald Trump on their premiere, and like it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. South Park has always been on edge with stuff like that. It don't matter who you are. South Park is gonna talk about you. South Park is gonna they were literally talking about like Jesus and stuff like that, and mocking him in different episodes, which I definitely did not agree with. But if y'all wasn't gonna cancel them for that, but you want to cancel him because of what he said about Donald Trump, which I want to know where the lie is. I want to know where the lie is, because a lot of y'all keep getting on here and talking about everybody lying on Donald Trump, and you got all the evidence in the world. That's crazy. You got all the evidence in the world, and yet y'all still are just in denial about Trump. Still in denial. Over 25 women have accused Donald Trump of sexual misconduct. In May 2023, civil liability in E. Jean Carroll case, and she was awarded $5 million. In July 28, 2025, he denied any island visits with Jeffrey Epstein or being on the flight logs. And this pictures and videos with him hanging with Jeffrey all the time. Like, he really ain't even had to go to the island, because Jeffrey was gonna bring the hoes to him. Or I didn't mean to say, Jeffrey was gonna bring these women and these girls and stuff to him in New York. Jeffrey was gonna bring them to him in New York, so he really ain't had to do much. And let me see. He was investigated into fraud and financial misconduct. But we'll be here all day trying to talk about the crazy stuff that Donald Trump got going on. But that's the thing, though. It's over 25 women that accuse Trump of this, and y'all still just be like, oh no, Trump is innocent. Trump is innocent. So when Donald Trump dies, y'all gonna do the same thing that you're doing with Hulk Hogan. You're gonna say, no, Donald Trump, he made America great. He did all these things for America. Look what he did and stuff. We're not gonna look at the controversies and stuff. Let's not do that. Let's respect Donald Trump. It's like, this crazy. Another one, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, in 21 and 22, dozens of massage therapists filed civil lawsuits. There was no grand jury indictment, no criminal trial. No grand jury indictment for Deshaun Watson. Now, the NFL did suspend Watson for 11 games in 2022, and they fined him for $5 million and required him to go behavioral evaluation and treatment before his reinstatement into the NFL. He settled 23 of those 24 lawsuits by the summer of 2022. I'm not sure if he settled the 24th case. I believe he might have settled that in 2024. And the ranges of the payments equal to about 1.5 to 2.5 million. So bringing that total in between 33 million and 55 million dollars for Deshaun Watson. Mind you, he was never found guilty of none of that stuff. They never even filed charges. They didn't have enough evidence to even file charges on Deshaun Watson for this. So I'm not going to sit here and say that he's 100% innocent, because we don't know. I can't say if this was just a whole money grab, even though that's what it feels like. We don't know, because these women could actually be victims. But what we do know is he has over 24 women that accused him of this and filed some lawsuits against him. And y'all over here calling him a pedophile and a sicko. Y'all calling him a pedophile and a sicko. When he dies, you're not going to talk about anything that he did with the Houston Texans. All his accomplishments, i.e., he got them in the playoffs and everything. You're not going to say nothing about that. You're going to talk about all these sexual misconducts and stuff that Deshaun Watson had. And you automatically consider him guilty in the court of public opinion. But meanwhile, Donald Trump got 25 women and all them liars. Donald Trump got 25 women, all them liars. So the women that accused Deshaun Watson, they're telling the truth. They're telling the truth. The women that accuse Donald Trump, them hoes, they lying. Donald Trump would never do that. They lying. So when Deshaun Watson dies, controversy. R. Kelly dies, controversy. When Michael Jackson died, controversy. When Chris Brown dies, controversy. When Hulk Hogan dies, no, we don't need to do controversy. We need to give this man his flowers because of all the things that he has done for the wrestling business. Hulk Hogan is a worldwide known name, and we need to acknowledge Hulk Hogan because he was just a phenomenal character. We have to separate the character from the person only when it comes to Hulk Hogan and Donald Trump. Donald Trump isn't a character. Well, he's a character when you think about it. But with Donald Trump, when he dies, we're not going to talk about these controversies or anything, the corruption and everything that he's constantly doing. Donald Trump is completely innocent. He is innocent. He would never do any of these things. So we are not going to do that. We're going to give Donald Trump his flowers when he dies. And if you made it this far and you truly believe that Hulk Hogan and Donald Trump deserves flowers, but nobody else, or specifically black people, you are jacked up. You're jacked up, and I think that you need to take a seat and really think about what you're saying and why you believe what you believe, because you are definitely wrong. If you disagree, go ahead, chime in the comments. And again, this is Cold Collective Media Podcast. Holla at you.